Howdy, folks. Hello, hello, hello. Guess what? I'm behind. As always, every single day. Hello, everybody in the chat. Hope everybody's doing phenomenal today. Got a lot of things to go over, a lot of things to talk about. Had some earnings before the bell here today. We got a lot of moves in the market in general. A lot of craziness out there, folks. So definitely, we're going to have a lot to go through. So let me start getting up and rolling. And what I want to pull you up here is the earnings calendar for this week. It's an insane week as far as the earnings picture goes this particular week, right? We're going to see what SoFi reported. I haven't seen their in-depth numbers yet. I only saw, I believe they beat on revenue. Very nice. But we're going to go over SoFi here in just a minute. Mickey D's reported, which is a super important stock to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and that's probably why that stock is up here today. So we'll look at McDonald's. There is a somewhat important stock reporting after the bell, Arista Networks. It's a pretty big market cap company. There it is, Arista Networks. So, yeah, $54 billion market cap Arista Networks. So they're reporting after the bell. So somewhat important company. But overall, as far as earnings go, tomorrow's when the real craziness starts. You got Pfizer before the bell, Caterpillar before the bell, then AMD after the bell. So tomorrow's live stream is going to be a fun one, seeing those AMD numbers. That should be really intriguing. AMD's a big risk on, risk off type stock. Wednesday's going to be absolute craziness, obviously. I think that's going to be a record-breaking stream here for us with PayPal earnings after the bell. Plus, we're going to have Qualcomm, Airbnb, Etsy, and Elf on a Shelf Wednesday. So now, SoFi, hold on. Let me take a look around what's going on in the market first, and then I actually want to look at SoFi's earnings. Because from what I saw, SoFi was doing well pre-market, and then it just crashed, like completely crashed. So I want to look at their numbers and see if there's anything I can find there that is a little off. So housing stocks having a good day. I mean, the Dow's up 500 points today, right? It's a 500-point mover. Yeah. So naturally, I mean, the Dow's up 500 points. Like, we should have stocks moving and grooving left and right? So naturally, like a lot of these housing stocks are moving today, but still stocks like Enphase can't find their own way. Redfin's under $5 now at this point in time, right? Even after this great day. But yeah, Enphase down 4%. I mean, where's Enphase today if today was a down 500 day for the Dow? Maybe Enphase is $75, something like that, right? I mean, just that stock has been hit hard. Let's take a peek at big tech. Oh, Tesla might also get hit. I believe they got downgraded today. I believe an analyst downgraded them. So do keep that in mind. Somebody says SoFi numbers should shock me. Should be a shocking report. Ooh, okay. Ubri Booba stock, the best stock in the big tech today. Adobe having a pretty good day. Amazon having a good day. So it's going to be an interesting day for the public count when we do our prediction when this market closes on what the public count's up or down today. Because on one side, you got Tesla having a bad day, down about 5%. But on the flip side, Amazon and Meta are having very good days, so does that offset the Tesla, let's call it L, today? PayPal just kind of floating around going into their earnings, right? NVIDIA having a decent day out there. Where's Apple at today? Where's Apple? Apple up 1.15%. That's going to be obviously a huge week for Apple this particular week, right? Let's see possible buys watch list. Align, wow, Align's down again. I mean, there's a chance I could make a move on a line next month. There's a chance. We'll see. We'll see. But that one's getting pretty darn intriguing now. Etsy, some weakness into their earnings. Our earnings are here in the next 48 hours. Foot Locker having a very good day. Nike having a good day. We spoke about Amazon. Cheesecake Factory having a good day. They're getting a lot of publicity right now. Estee Lauder, I really want to see that one continue to go down. So disappointed to see that one have a bounce back day here today. Safety stocks watch list, mostly green, given that the Dow's up 500 plus points today, but there is still some red. It's kind of disappointing to see some red for some of these safety stocks when the Dow's up 500 plus points. General Mills down here today, Clorox down here today, Kellanova down here today, and what do they call it? Kellogg, blah, blah, blah. WK Kellogg down today as well. So kind of disappointing to see those move down for those stocks, despite The Dow just having a beast of a day. I mean, this is an animal of a day for the Dow when you see it up 500 plus. 6 stocks I'm hedged against. So obviously S-Dow is getting pounded today, given the Dow's having such a good day. Tesla's doing pretty well for us today. Polaris continues to print us money. Toll Brothers not doing too much. Apple's hurting us a bit today for the hedges, and then Chipotle is hurting us a bit today for the hedges. Banking stocks. So SoFi's around break even. It's up 1% right now, which is intriguing. We'll look at their numbers here in just a moment. Cathie Wood watch list. Oh, that's rough, man. A lot of red stocks for Cathie Wood watch list here today, despite it being a plus 500 day for the Dow, obviously. What's going on with PP? Oh, boy. PP, not doing so good. Not doing so good, PP. WTI having a rough day here today, which is great news for us. GSG, commodity index, doing bad. That is great news for us, folks. That's absolutely flipping flapjack. And hey, I see people using the new emotes. Nice, man. We released a bunch of new emotes last week. A bunch of new ones. So good to see people using those down there. GSG, that's great. I love this pricing action on GSG here today, folks. This is what I love to see. This is what I need to continue to see. GSG, if we look at a 1-year chart, is basically down about 0.6%. On a year-to-date, it's up about 5%. I would love to exit this year around break-even for the commodity index in general. That would be phenomenal. A lot of that's going to depend upon what happens in the Middle East, so do keep that in mind. Crypto. Bitcoin chilling out right now. Dow 30, obviously, it's a pumper of a day for the Dow. Look at that. Not one flipping flapjacking red stock in the entire Dow 30 here today. Not one. Even Merck's holding on to gains here today for the Dow. Wow. Nike, Goldman Sachs, Verizon, Travelers, 3M, all green here today. McDonald's surprisingly not as green as I would have thought it would have been, considering I believe they beat. We might have to take a quick peek at McDonald's earnings that came out this morning, but I believe they beat on earnings. So I don't know, man. I mean, this is a weird rally here today. It almost feels like, is it a fake out rally? It's a little bit of a strange rally. I'll be honest with you guys. Okay, little fishy. It's not quite all adding up. But let's see, FinTech watch list here today. Wow, Square's under $40. Square's under $40, folks. $39 for Square going into their earnings here in the next 3 days. Rocket slightly up. Obviously, SoFi has been, but look at the SoFi chart today. Let's take a peek at this baby. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I mean, it is spiked up. It looked like it was going $8 plus. $7.86 right there, and then a few hours later, it's at $6.76. I mean, just a huge monumental drop for SoFi shareholders, and that's one that hurts. It's one that hurts if you're a SoFi shareholder, because you're like, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be a great day. We come through with earnings, and to see it fall like that, those are usually the most painful, just kind of disappointing ones overall. Got some Red Dead Redemption out there today. Planet, SDAO, Tesla, Skyworks, Palantir are some Red Dead Redemptions for me. Outside of that, a lot of green. Foot Locker is very green today. Honest is very green. Amazon Cake, Avant Brands, very green. Fubo is very green. That one's got earnings coming on Friday before the bell. If we were in a little bit better of a market, I would think Fubo would go over $3 by Friday's close. But given how weak the market's been, I'm not super confident in terms of the stock price reaction, but I do believe their numbers are going to be tremendous. I believe they're going to kill it on subs, on revenue guidance, on subscriber guidance. I believe losses are going to keep coming coming down for the company overall. So expecting a lot of good stuff there. I could be wrong, as always, but I think that one's looking pretty good. Oil and gas stocks, little Red Dead Redemption there. Let's see, semiconductors here today. Mixed bag in semiconductors. On semiconductor stock is crashing here today, I believe, which is probably putting, let's just call it pressure on the entire, look, it's on semiconductor. It's down nearly 20 percentage points here today. That's putting pressure on all of the semiconductor companies. I'm going to have to look into let's just take a peek real quick, because why is that stock? I don't even think they had earnings this morning, did they? Why is that stock down 20%? Did they pre-announce something? Let's see. On Semiconductor drops as fourth quarter forecast missed estimates. On Semiconductor dropped 18%. Well, now it's like 20%. On Monday morning, after forecast missed estimates for the fourth quarter, the company forecasted sales $1.95 billion to $2.05 billion. Average analyst estimates was for $2.18 billion. This market has no patience for misses. I mean, you've got good stocks, great stocks reporting, huge beats on their earnings and their stock prices go down. You come in and miss in this environment, folks. It's no bueno. Earnings per share estimated to be $1.13 to $1.27 compared to consensus $1.37. They reported revenue that slightly beat analysts, EPS that beat analysts' expectations, but it's a guide that's not good. Bank of America maintained a buy rating on the stock and said it would review its model following the earnings call. Interesting. So, yeah, that's obviously putting huge weight on these, huge kind of pressure on all these semiconductor stocks. No pun intended. And last watch list here, travel, green, a lot of green. Wow, Hawaiian Airlines having a huge day here today, up 12 percentage points. Hawaiian Airlines is like a freaking call option on the travel industry now at this point in time. GM reaches tentative deal with United Auto Workers, ending strikes at Detroit automakers after 6 weeks. Whoa, really? Is this why we're seeing extra pressure on Tesla? And by the way, we got to see SoFi earnings still. We got to see Tesla with that downgrade. I think the stock got downgraded here today. I'm interested to see what they got downgraded for. United Auto Workers and General Motors have agreed to a deal to put an end to collective bargaining talks between the union and Detroit automakers. GM is the final Detroit automaker to reach a deal with the union following historically contentious talks. The 4.5-year tentative agreement must still be ratified by members at each of the automakers. Ooh, okay. Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it's good. Certainly good news for the workers, at least in the short term. Long term, their jobs might go to Mexico, but for the short term, it might be good news. Let's see. There was a downgrade here today. Maybe this will talk about the downgrade. Tesla comes as EV maker BYD reports a record profit of more than $1.4 billion in Q3 on Monday. Wow. Another negative for Tesla Monday is that Panasonic Holdings automotive battery segment reported its first loss in 3 quarters due to sagging demand for Tesla's Model S and X vehicles. Interesting. Yeah, the high-end consumer has definitely been pulling back, folks. I was at the Crystal Shops at Aria. I don't know if you guys ever been. Well, one, I don't know if you've been to Vegas, and two, if you've been to Vegas, I don't know if you guys ever been to the Crystal Shops at Aria. But I was there yesterday, and we were there because we had reservations for a restaurant, and so it was interesting walking around that mall. So that mall, that Crystal Shops mall, is all super high-end brands. There's like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, and there's even a Richard Mille store. I went into one of those. I didn't even know there was Richard Mille stores, so I went in there. Tom Ford, just a lot of those super high-end brands, right? Christian Louboutin. And so it was interesting. That mall was pretty ghost town. I'll be honest with you guys. Not like almost any customers in almost any of the stores. It seemed extremely slow, even for a Sunday. And so, I don't know. I definitely do feel the higher-end consumers pulling back a bit over this last few months. It might continue to over the next few months. So do keep that in mind. And that can put some definitely pressure on higher-end brands. So I wouldn't get too excited about companies like RH and what their earnings could be like. I wouldn't get very excited about, to be quite frank, a lot of stocks. There's a lot of stocks I wouldn't be very excited about. Louis Vuitton, Estee Lauder, a lot of these companies that sell to the higher end, I just wouldn't be very excited about those sorts of stocks here in the, let's call it, shorter term when it comes to their numbers. I want to see SoFi earnings. Let's see, SoFi IR. Anybody own SoFi stock in the chat? I'm genuinely curious how many people in the chat own SoFi. So if you own SoFi, let me know in the chat. Love to see from you guys. SoFi and BlackRock partner a $375 million personal loan securitization. Interesting. Okay. So that's a little news right off the bat. Alrighty, so SoFi. All right, so the company reported record GAAP and adjusted net revenue for the third quarter. I don't really want. I just want to look at the statements, and then we can worry about the rest of that. Okay. So first off, we have GAAP numbers. Then we're gonna have non-GAAP numbers. So first off, GAAP numbers, generally accepted accounting principles. Total net revenue. By the way, a lot of people in the chat definitely own some SoFi shares. Net revenue was up 27%. Oh my gosh, what happened with net loss on a GAAP basis? 259% up. And 228%. I don't know what's going on with these GAAP numbers, but what? We're going to have to get more clarity on that. This seems insane. Net loss of $266 million on a GAAP basis? We'll have to find more information because this seems insane. Something strange going on. On a non-GAAP basis, net revenue was up 27%. Adjusted EBITDA was up 121%. So that's very impressive. Net loss was down 74% on a non-GAAP basis. Okay. So the non-GAAP numbers look much, much better, obviously, than the GAAP numbers. Okay, let's see. 3. So 3. Loss per share attributable to common stockholders, excluding the impact of goodwill impairment, is defined as net income loss attributable to common stockholders. Adjusted to exclude goodwill impairment of $247 million for the first 3 months of September 30th, 2023, divided by the weight of the average common stock outstanding for respective periods. The goodwill impairment adjustment has no impact on weighted average common stock outstanding or income statement. Okay. Whoops. Not what I wanted to do. Okay. Gap number, revenue. So I guess it must have something to do with goodwill numbers. It looks like. Because, I mean, that's such a huge number. And if it's $247 million and you take that out, then that would make sense. So the $247 million looks like kind of like a one-off situation. Has something to do with goodwill impairment losses, okay? So that's what looks like it screwed up the GAAP numbers in a substantial way, because I looked at that, I'm like, what? Like, if anything, SoFi should be cutting down their losses majorly, not adding them. So, yeah, interesting. Okay. Let's go further here. Members were up significantly for the company on a year-over-year basis. At this time last year, they had about 4.7 million members, customers, whatever you want to call them. Now they're up to about 7 million. As far as products, they had about 7,200 products roughly. Now they have 10,000 plus products. I don't know why that's such a big deal to have, a view of that many products, but whatever. Technology platform accounts, 137. Okay. Lending segments results. Net interest income was up 90% year over year for the company. Obviously, interest rates, you can get a lot more in interest income now. Non-interest income was down 48% for the company. These are GAAP numbers, I believe. They don't make it specific here. Servicing, so total net revenue, lending was up about 16% for the company. Okay. Personal loans up 38% for the company. Student loans up 101% for the company. Home loans up 64%, total up 48%. Average loan balance was down 2% as far as personal loans. That's interesting. And student loans were actually down 5% for average loan balance. That's very intriguing. Lending products, personal loan up 35%, student loan up 8%, home loans up 10%. So it's interesting. It looks like total number up, but average loan balance down. Very intriguing, especially considering like the student loan repayments like really just restarted again. So that's intriguing. Guidance and outlook. For the full year of 2023, management expects adjusted net revenue of, let's just call it a little over $2 billion, up from its prior guidance of just under $2 billion roughly. And full year adjusted EBITDA, $386 million to $396 million, up from its prior guidance of $333 to $343, representing a 48% incremental adjusted EBITDA margin and a range of 18.9% to 19.2% adjusted EBITDA margin as the company moves forward, expected GAAP net income profitability in the fourth quarter. Ooh, okay. That's a big line, folks. That's a big line. Big line. As the company moves toward expected GAAP, so that's not non-GAAP, that's GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, net income profitability in the fourth quarter. Management expects depreciation, amortization, and share-based compensation, SBC, expenses to increase in the mid to high single-digit percentage range in the fourth quarter relative to the third quarter results. Okay, so overall, it seems like definitely SoFi is making progress in their business overall on basically every front. Members, revenue, getting toward profitability. They're talking about expected GAAP profitability in the fourth quarter. That's a good sign for the company overall. So cash equivalents up to $2.8 billion in cash equivalents on the company's balance sheet, compared to 1.4 in this same quarter, or actually that's compared to the end of the year 2022. Interesting. Wow. $27 billion in total assets versus $19 billion going into the year. Total liabilities, $22.6. So total equity, let's call it in the $5 billion-ish range. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, SoFi's definitely coming around. No doubt about it. SoFi's definitely coming around. Interesting. Well, good for SoFi. And then they got this deal here. SoFi and BlackRock partner on $375 million personal loan securitization that helps members borrow, save, spend, and invest and protect their money today. An announcement agreement to place $375 million personal loan securitization exclusively with funds and accounts managed by BlackRock Investment Advisors. Well, yeah, SoFi's definitely headed in the right direction. There's no doubt about that, right? No doubt about that. If I was a SoFi shareholder, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be fairly happy with at least the numbers there and kind of the progress they're making, the guidance there. Obviously I don't know what happened in the conference call, so maybe that changed something there. But overall, I'd be happy. I want to see McDonald's earnings from this morning. McDonald's came out with numbers. I just want to go to the numbers here. Revenues. Wow, really? Revenues up 14%. If you take into account currency, it was up 11%. Operating income, 16%. Net income, 17%. Damn. EPS, 18%. I mean, that's freaking good. I don't know what else to say. It's damn impressive. Like, if your operating income can be up more than your revenues, and your net income's up more than your operating income as a percent, and your EPS is up more than your net income as a percent, it's the holy freaking grail, folks. It's the holy grail, okay? Damn you, McDonald's. You're freaking good. That's all I'll say about you. You're freaking good, man. Hard to beat Mickey D's. How many very good earnings Wall Street can ignore? That's funny. Apparently a lot. Apparently a lot of them they can ignore. I mean, even McDonald's earnings, I gotta be honest, and you guys know I don't really root for McDonald's. If anything, I root against McDonald's. I mean, the fact that stock's only up 2% today, those McDonald's earnings were freaking amazing, right? I call it Mick overvalued, so do keep that in mind. But I gotta say, like, it doesn't, like I said, when you can, as a percent, if you can grow your operating income more than your revenues, and you can grow your net income more as a percent than your operating income, and you can grow your earnings per share more as a percent than your net income, that's the holy grail. I mean, that's incredible. So good for them. Oh, by the way, Tesla 197. Dang, is it going to go 196 here on Tesla My Tesla? Wow, what's the lows for the day? Let's see. Oh, Tesla got down to 194 today, folks. 194. By the way, we're less than 15 minutes before the market closes here, so running down on time. Tesla had bad earnings, missed out most numbers. Fair, yeah. Tesla earnings were not impressive by any measure whatsoever. Anyone buying puts on AMD right now? Ooh, that's interesting. Puts on AMD? Jeez. Yeah, AMD doesn't have big expectations going in for their earnings tomorrow. That's a thing that might make it a little scarier. If you look at AMD's expectations, folks, I mean, there are no expectations for AMD, basically, for this quarter they're about to report. So basically, EPS is expected to be about flat on a year-over-year basis for the company. And then revenues are expected to be up 2%, a whole 2% for the company. So, yeah, if they miss those numbers, and that's really sad for AMD. Like, really sad for AMD if they freaking miss those numbers. Holy smokes. Like, come on. Very much a possibility. FinTech could be coming back very hard. Very hard.
Whoa. There we go. We're in the market zone, the closing bell market zone. CNBC senior markets commentator Mike Santoli here to break down the crucial moments of this trading day. Phil LeBeau on the sell-off in Tesla, other EV stocks today. Julia Boorstin looking ahead to Pinterest.
Tesla, we're going to talk Tesla, good.
In OT. Michael, I begin with you. This is a nice little move we've had. What do you think it's about?
Pretty good little snapback. I think it's relaxing after tensing up so much.
Could be a fake out.
I mean, the drop in oil, the drop in the volatility index. You had the small cap Russell 2000 you were just talking about, really retesting its bear market lows from last October.
Yep.
So not insignificant in terms of the field position of the market and whether, in fact, people wanted to start to back off of it a little bit on the sell side. So that's what's been going on mostly. You do want to see, I would hope, more than one day of pop in things like the regional banks, which are up today. All the beat up areas and consumer cyclicals also getting a little bit of relief. So it's impossible on a one-day basis to distinguish just a kind of a reflex oversold bounce that's going to fail from the start of something real. But this is the way, you know, all of the recoveries do eventually get going.
All right, Phil LeBeau, to you. Tesla, ugly day. Other EV stocks, too. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a rough day to be in the EV automakers right now, Scott. Basically, when you look at these shares, they were all under pressure today. Tesla shares under 200 for the first time since back in May. Three things driving these stocks lower. First of all, much more cautious commentary over the last couple of weeks regarding the demand for EVs, that it may be slowing down. The growth rate is not going to be as great. Then you had On Semiconductor coming out today saying they see pockets of softness, particularly when it comes to EVs. And then Panasonic cutting its battery production. And by the way, what does Panasonic supply batteries to? The Model S and the Model X. So as you take a look at shares of Tesla, I mentioned that we are now under 200 for the first time since May. Not a good-looking chart, but Scott, not a surprise given what we've seen and the.
I told everybody Tesla's desperate right now. I showed you guys on the stream last week, man. They sent me an email. They would give me free supercharging if I bought a new X. That's pretty desperate.
This is at work here. You know,
like when you talk about all the price cuts and everything they've done on top of that, then now free supercharging for life if I get a new X, like that's pretty desperate.
Internal note said the company's worth $19 billion, not the $44 billion that Elon Musk paid for it. And I'm like, I wonder if the market thinks that Musk is going to have to sell more Tesla shares to deal with the X debt There's all the bank issues and all of that, and that is why this stock is down 5%, more so than for some of those other reasons, however legitimate they may be. But Musk selling again would be an overhang again.
There's no doubt that it's in the air. There's a lot of focus on that. And also, if you look back to the fourth quarter when he was actively selling a lot, it also did coincide with a time when people were radically cutting their estimates of what volumes were going to be at Tesla. So it seems like it was coming around together. It wasn't just two independent things. And similarly now, I mean, Tony Sacconaghi at Bernstein had another kind of skeptical note about whether, in fact, Tesla might have to come off of its targets for 2024 volumes. So I think a lot of things probably are weighing on sentiment right now. Mostly, though, they've had to cut price a lot just to keep their 2023 volumes on track. How much are they going to have to do next time? Are margins expectations too high? I would say, though, in terms of if he has to sell stock, this is a stock that trades 25, 30 billion worth of shares a day. So it's hard for him to sell so much that it's going to swamp demand. But the psychology of it is something that's inescapable when he's backing away further from his commitment to Tesla as an owner.
True, and it's always like, even you see today's move and you're like, could Elon Musk be selling today? Are we going to see an SEC report tomorrow or whatever that he was selling? Like, you know, those things cross people's minds.
Or whatever he might do, inject equity into Twitter.
Oh, sure, but there have been air pockets in the stock, you know, before. And
he sold 40 billion, you know.
Yeah, this also comes at a time where, you know, mega caps are being scrutinized maybe more heavily than they have in the past. So we shall see. Julia Borston, Pinterest, coming out in OT. What do we expect?
Well, Scott, Pinterest is expected to accelerate its revenue growth nearly 9%. That would be up from 6% revenue growth in the prior quarter. We are watching to see here whether Pinterest echoes comments from Meta, Snap, and YouTube about a strengthening ad market in the quarter. We're also listening for any concern about uncertainty in the fourth quarter in light of the Hamas-Israel war. That's something that we...
By the way, folks, I just want to pause this here because what you're looking at there in front of you, that's the beauty of the stock market, right? And damn, that makes me proud because guess what of those four stocks I was buying like insane at this time last year? It was Meta, right? I could have been buying Pinterest at this time last year and be sitting on no gains. I could have been buying Snapchat at this time last year and been sitting on a 4% loss. Could have been buying Google McDougal at this time last year and been sitting on pretty decent gains. But I was buying Meta, right? And so that's the beauty of, you know, being a stock picker is when you get it right and you get it really right, woo, man, does it pay. All right, folks, before we get these earnings, you know what time it is. Give me your guesses. How many points was the public account, or not how many points, how much in dollar amount was the public account up or down today, folks? Everybody getting your guesses, getting your guesses, getting your guesses. It's a confusing one, I'll be honest today, because Tesla was down big. On the flip side, Meta had a pretty good day. Amazon had a pretty good day. Palantir, I don't think, had a good day. So we got a mixed bag out there, folks. We got a mixed bag out there here today. So, all right. You guys ready for this? You guys ready? Some of you guys were really, really insanely close. Like, as in like $21 away, basically. Here it is. Negative $21.76 for the public account here today. So some of you guys were at like $0. So a lot of you guys were actually super close, like insanely close. Like what the heck? $21 in the negative on a 1.5 mil portfolio is like, the market might as well not even have been open today for the public account. Like seriously, like it might as well just been a closed day for the market. That's crazy. That's literally one of the craziest ones I've ever seen. Oh, man.
That could be a near-term bullish catalyst for the markets.
And Samir, you still see downside risk in stocks. Think we're going to test the recent lows. What's going to trigger that test, you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, the tricky part for markets right now is you've got, you know, rates still kind of, you know, testing the upper limits of kind of the upside. The fact that we're all watching a Treasury, you know, announcement about whether they're going to issue bills, notes, and bonds, I think is very telling. Not sure the last time that played such a big role. And so I think that bond volatility is probably still the biggest driver for stock market volatility. And then look, a 10% pullback doesn't solve for the fact that we still see a recession, you know, unfolding very late this year, and it'll probably occupy markets for much of next year. And so,
Pins is moving up.
I guess good that valuations have maybe gotten a little bit less expensive, which is really where we were for much of the summer, but it still doesn't change the macro.
I just want to go
Pins is
back to something
moving.
you said, Anastasia. If I heard you correctly, it sounded like you
Anastasia
said
Amoroso.
we've seen the financial markets tightening. What we've seen in the bond market has been the equivalent
4.5%.
of
Ooh,
3
6%
additional
move on pins.
Fed rate hikes. If that's the case,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
If that's
Sorry, go ahead, Morgan.
If that's the case,
ANET's
has
moving
the
up after
equity
hours,
market fully
3.5%
digested
so
that?
far.
And just as importantly, then, do you like bonds over stocks, or are you suggesting something else entirely?
Yeah, I think more in near term, the markets, the equity markets have repriced for the spike higher in yields, and we're seeing some stalling out in treasury yields as
6.5%
well
on pins right now.
as the sell-off in equity markets. But I go back to a different time horizon. If we think about 2024, if yields high for longer are here to stay, it is going to become even more incrementally difficult to refinance the debt that is coming due. In 2023, we had to worry about what's floating rate and how is it adjusting. And the reality is not that much of the U.S. economy is floating rate. You've got some leverage loans, you've got some pockets of consumer, but on balance, it's not that much. What we have to worry about next year is fixed rate debt that has to be refinanced at much higher rates. And whether you look at corporates, whether you look at banks, whether you look at
Corp's going down
US
after hours,
Treasury,
5%.
all of those stakeholders are going to be borrowing more and going to be borrowing at higher rates. So I do worry, and I am sympathetic to the view of the other panelists that we might be heading
these are the brands
closer
VF
to
Corp
a hard landing
owns.
scenario the
Vans,
longer the
North
rates stay
Face,
where they
Timberland,
are. So
Dickies.
with all of that in mind, you have to have a trading view and you have to have sort of a broader asset allocation
Down
view.
6%.
And what I would tell you about how we're thinking about portfolios today, it's really going back to, well, first of all, cash now pays something. So money markets is a viable option, is a viable alternative. It's short duration fixed income. I wouldn't really take long duration risk. It is things like investment grade corporates. I don't love treasuries, but I think investment grade corporates and municipal bonds, that's a better risk to take. And then private credit, where you can earn close to 12% yield right now.
Okay. We're going to put a pause on that because Pinterest earnings are out. Julia Borston has the
Here we go,
Julia.
pins.
Morgan, Pinterest beating on the top and bottom line. Earnings per share of 28 cents, beating expectations by 8 cents. Revenue growing at faster than expected, 11% to $763 million. That's ahead of the $744 million anticipated. Take a look at shares now trading up about 6%. Now, looking at those monthly active user numbers, those also ahead of expectations at 482 million. That's 9 million more than anticipated. Now, as for fourth quarter guidance, the company gave a range. Now, the midpoint of 12% revenue growth of that range, that is ahead of the 11% growth that the street was estimating. So there's been no commentary, though, no commentary in the release on whether the company is seeing any uncertainty or potential pullback in ad spending in the fourth quarter, which is a warning we got from Snap and also from Meta. But we will be listening for more in the earnings call, which starts in about 20 minutes.
These are respectable
CEO Bill
for
Reddy
pins.
saying in
Respectable
Pinterest's
numbers.
release, quote, as we lean into Pinterest's unique differentiators as a visual search, discovery, and shopping platform, we're finding our best product market fit in years. I will have an exclusive interview with Pinterest CEO Bill Reddy that's coming up tomorrow in the 11 a.m. hour of Squawk on the Street. John?
All right.
Respectable
Julia,
numbers.
Thank you. Meantime, VF Corp moving about 6% in the other direction down. Steve Kovac has the numbers there. Steve.
Yeah, John, shares tumbling a bit here on some mixed results from VF Corp. EPS coming in at 63 cents adjusted. That's a miss on estimates of 65 cents adjusted. And then revenue is pretty much in line here, coming in at $3.03 billion. Street was looking for about $3 billion even, and you see shares down, John, about 5% now. I'll send things back over to you.
All right, thank you. Looks like a dividend cut here as well. Let's go back to the panel.
There's been a lot of activist investor pressure in this name. It's seen some pretty wild moves in recent weeks.
There is. A new CEO, Bracken Darrell, came in from Logitech just a few months ago, has quite a job on his hands. Samir, we've had a story this season where revenues have beaten for a...
So, yeah, this market has no patience if you come in and miss numbers, right? Pinterest, those numbers are very respectable. Everything they just went over there, user metrics, revenue, bottom line, top line. I thought those were all respectable numbers for Pinterest. Not a stock that interests me at all for buying it. Just to be honest, I just feel like they're kind of a little bit niche down. But, yeah, good numbers all around as far as that goes. ANET, still waiting for them to talk about ANET. Oh,
Though there was a section on the startup costs, Wolfspeed saying that they're incurring significant factory startup costs on construction of their facilities, Siler Lake in North Carolina as an example, and those facilities are not yet earning revenue. Those startup costs and underutilization costs come out to about $34.4 million, and yet the stock is popping 10%. Still unsure why that's happening, so I'll have to come back to you and figure out what it is
that's the stock
driving
market,
that
lady.
higher, given the miss in revenues.
I know you'll dig through it. Christina, thank you. Samir, back to you on this one. We've seen cost controls, earnings per share beating more often than revenue has in this quarter. So when you look at VF Corp, the dividend cut, when you look at Wolfspeed popping after hours, some operational things that they appear to be trying to work out, what's your take?
Pin's up 8% now. This Wolfspeed hit a 52-week low today. So, I mean, you know, when you're at your 52-week low, like, as long as you just don't report a disaster, you can see a pop in your stock, right? And that's probably what's going on there. This company's a developer of wide band gap semiconductors, which is focused on silicon carbide and gallium nitride materials in devices for power and radio frequency RF applications. Its product facilities include silicon carbide and GaN materials, power devices, RF devices. Interesting. That's a company that you're going to have to study for a while. I can already tell. Based upon the description there, you're going to have to study that company for probably 3 months before you really start to wrap your head around it. I can already tell. Like, Pins now up over 9%. As I said, their numbers are actually pretty darn impressive across the board from everything I've seen so far from Pins. Arista Networks, no clue why they haven't covered this baby yet. This is the most important stock to report all after hours by far and away. That baby's up about 5% right now. Not sure why they haven't talked about it.
Their make or break week for
Weird. That's all I'll say about that. Weird. But now VF Corp's getting killed, folks. Oh my gosh. VF Corp just dropped down 16 percentage points now. Woo! 15.89% to be exact. VF Corp just took a big leg lower. Wow. That's rough, folks. Big leg lower for VF Corp here. Some shareholder must have just dumped this baby hard right now. Public storage not moving yet. They're reporting after the bell. This Wolfspeed company is up about 9%, but that one did hit a 52-week low here today. So, to kind of look at where things finished out as far as trading today, it was a really bad day for obviously all Tesla shareholders, Palantir shareholders. To see the market, to see the Dow up 500 plus, a number like that for us Tesla shareholders and Palantir shareholders, like it's rough to see your stocks down 5%, 2.5% on a given day like today, right? There was obviously a lot of green out there today. Foot Locker was very green. Amazon was very green. Let's pull up a heat map of stocks here today. Heat map stocks, and take a peek at a heat map. I mean, look at that. What a day. I mean, that's one of the most green days you're going to find in the stock market, folks. Oh, somebody said it's their first time on Twitch. Follow me on YouTube. Hey, thanks for being here. We got an exciting next few streams, I can tell you that. Tomorrow, AMD reports after the bell on top of a bunch of other companies. And then Wednesday is going to be crazy. PayPal reports. Elf on a Shelf reports after the bell. Qualcomm reports on that day. I believe Airbnb and Etsy report. Then on Thursday, Apple reports, the biggest big dog in the mall. Talk about you want to know where the market's going, pay attention to Apple. Then we also have, if I recall, on that same day, Coinbase after the bell and Starbucks as well. So this is just a crazy week of earnings here. And then Fubo reports Friday before the bell, folks. Get your flapjacks ready to be flipped all over the place. Oh, Palantir! Carp. I just saw the Carp emotes, and the Carp emotes reminded me of Palantir's earnings are coming out this week, and Shopify earnings are coming out this week as well. Carp emotes, thank you for sending those over, because that reminded me of Palantir's earnings that are coming this week. By the way, if you guys haven't got a chance yet, check out the video I put out on the main channel yesterday. I put out a video that went all into my expectations for Palantir this week, for PayPal this week, and basically for just almost all the big companies that are reporting this week. If I expect them to beat, expect them to miss, make sure you guys check out that video. I think it should be enlightening and interesting to a lot of folks out there. But today was definitely a very green day overall. Very, very, very good day in the market overall. If you weren't here earlier, we played our guessing game on how much public count was up or down today. It was down $21, folks. Like, the market might as well not even have been open today. Like, that's crazy. To see a $21 move on a 1.5 mil portfolio is crazy. Very low probabilities of that ever happening. But this is what we're looking at for the next 4 days. Just craziness. Pfizer, Caterpillar before the bell tomorrow. Amgen, which is a stock a lot of Wall Streeters talk about all the time. AMD after the bell. Oh, what we got going on here? Who's this?
In the way that the Macs have been down this year about 25%, and we need them to start growing off of easier comps. So what really matters this next quarter in December is that they grow revenues, and the Macs could be an important part for that. So we'll be watching tonight to see what the features are, how quickly they're shipping,
that's tonight,
and any other bells and whistles. But Macs could be important actually in the December quarter to help them grow.
Okay. There is an expectation that we're going to get earnings results later this week, and this is a company that's going to show 4 consecutive quarters of revenue decline. How much does that matter here? How much of that is priced into the stock?
Revenues are everything right now. Every meeting I have, it's how has Apple still got this valuation with revenue declining? What they have to do for the December quarter, which is their first
240 price target on Apple,
is guide for revenue growth year over year.
Bullish.
Currency's a little worse than when they reported last. They had an extra week in the quarter a year ago, but they got to overcome that and put up some revenue growth in order for the stock to work, in our opinion. But I don't think it has to be much. Just give us some revenue growth, and we can reaccelerate throughout the next year. That should be enough for investors.
Ben, I'll make a different sort of argument on why tonight's Apple news matters. Tell me if you agree or not. And it's the Mac has become the central vehicle for Apple's chip-driven vertical integration. I mean, this M-series chip, the most powerful in its lineup, shows up first in the Mac. It ends up in the iPad. It ends up in the Vision Pro. And not only that, others are sort of copying this idea of, I can take ARM-based chips, tune them to a platform, and get better performance, whether you're talking in the cloud or you're talking, in the client, what AMD is trying to do, what Qualcomm is trying to do. Am I off base?
No, John. Apple's a huge silicon company. I mean, I've been very impressed with what they're doing. Not only is it really important in terms of their own innovation and standing out versus their peers. We want creatives to want these things to upgrade, but it is a showcase for what they're capable of across their whole lineup. I've been really impressed with their silicon. I think it's going to have big ramifications in their AI strategy how they
good
process
move today for Amazon,
AI
folks.
at the edge.
Really good move.
I think that this is a really good event for them to say, hey, we have the fastest
Amazon
chips on
might
the
want to go to
market. Look at
150
what we've done on our own
before year end.
And go from there. But I agree with you, John. I think that it is important in that regard, and they're really standing out.
And in a way, the rest of the PC industry is benchmarking versus Apple. Maybe not the Macs, but particularly
Pins now up 12%.
Qualcomm even last week was talking about here's how our new Snapdragon chip for PCs is going to perform compared to Apple.
Yeah, there's quite a few folks that potentially could get their hat in the ring. Obviously, we all know about Qualcomm because they had their big day. And then obviously the speculation around NVIDIA, AMD,
you don't want to come in line in this market.
ARM chips. It's really exciting right now, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, at the same time, Intel's innovating, and they have Meteor Lake and Arrow Lake coming. But a lot of companies are trying to use AI as a launching board to kind of increase their share in chips. Obviously, Apple's already there, and we'll see how it goes. But I do think tonight is kind of good for the showcase of what they can do. But the key really is growing in December for this stock.
Yeah, I hope they announce some new MacBook Pros with better cameras, better microphones. I'm always looking, as long as they continue to innovate on camera technology and microphone technology, I'll always continue to buy New MacBook Pros, bottom line, I'm an easy sell Apple. Better camera, better mics, I'm buying it. Day it comes out.
Executive order on artificial intelligence.
Okay, so Pins up over 11% after hours here. They had some pretty impressive numbers. Arista Networks, I should call it, up about 5%. This is the biggest market cap, big dog, reporting after the bell. So I'm kind of disappointed CNBC didn't really cover this one. VF Corp's gotten hit pretty hard after hours. Right now it's down about 11 percentage points. I've seen it down as much as about 15 percentage points, if not over 15 percentage points in after hours trading. Public Storage up slightly, about a 2% move. And then this Wolfspeed company is up about 8% after hours. Now this is what we're looking at for the remainder of the week. Pfizer, Caterpillar, AMD report tomorrow. So make sure you join me for tomorrow's live stream. That's going to be a crazy one. Even crazier, the crazier live streams Wednesday. PayPal, Qualcomm, Etsy, Airbnb, Elf on a Shelf. Plus, we'll see what Estee Lauder had reported, which is a stock I'm interested in potentially buying somewhat soon. Hopefully, they're bad numbers. Hopefully, we'll see. And then Thursday, probably the craziest day of them all, Palantir, Shopify report, and we'll have to react to those. And then the biggest big dog of them all, Apple, after the bell, which is going to be huge. Plus, on top of that, we got Starbucks. We have Coinbase reporting as well. Carvana, which always is making huge moves, so that should just be an entertaining one to watch. And DraftKings will probably be entertaining as well. Square will be interesting. Fubo reports Friday morning. So these next 3 days are going to be some fun live streams, folks. We're going to have some pretty huge numbers in here the next 3 days, especially Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday, expect some pretty massive numbers here. So I don't even know how much I'll be able to get in the chat on Wednesday specifically, because that is going to be pure insanity, folks. Pure insanity. So make sure you guys join me over this next few days, because we have earnings craziness Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Whew! Baby, is it going to be absolute insanity. Insanity. So anyways, folks, much love as always. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for following. Thank you for being subscribed. And have a great day.